All right, so in Atlanta, we've proven today that we have an abundance of technology talent, but we also have an abundance of sports opportunities here in Atlanta. Mind-blowing, actually. To lead the panel on tech and the future of sports, we have one a very accomplished Atlantan who is helping Atlanta do something no other city has ever accomplished by hosting major back-to-back championship sporting events. The 2018 College Football Playoff National Championships, Super Bowl 53, and the 2020 Final Four. The VP of Operations and Logistics from Atlanta's host committee, please welcome Amy Patterson, everyone. Amy and team.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excited to be with you to talk about what is happening in sports and entertainment. I'm joined by three great gentlemen. I'm going to take a moment to introduce them, and then we'll jump into some questions. To my left, Marcus Wasdin is the Chief Information Officer for the Atlanta Hawks and State Farm Arena. Andrew Shannon is our Director of Emerging Technology for Atlanta Falcons, Atlanta United, and Mercedes-Benz Stadium. And Todd Harris, co-founder and chief operating officer of Hi-Rez Studios, one of the largest, and has some fans in the audience, excellent, one of the largest video game studios in the Southeast, and he's also president of Skillshot Media, largest dedicated eSports production company on the East Coast. So gentlemen, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Last week, we had a great conversation and kind of talked about some of the key trends that are happening in sports and entertainment, and I want to lay those out for you, and then we'll jump into some questions. The first key challenge in sports and entertainment right now is that in-person sporting events face the greatest competition from the couch in your living room. There is a demand to evolve how both the in-person and video online sporting event experience is delivered and consumed. Legal sports betting is going to evolve businesses and game day experiences in a big way, and player safety is a huge investment area. So let's see how many of those we can touch in the next 18 minutes. Andrew, I'm going to start with you. We're in the shadows of a beautiful stadium, and the Falcons and United wage battle with the couch. What do you predict will change in the next decade, or how do you battle the couch?
Yeah, so there's a few things that I think are really happening as a result of this kind of conflict for a consumer who has all the luxuries of the bathroom. They don't have a line, any food they want right at home. So for us, I think there's a few investment areas. One is personalization. It should be a premium experience when you're in the stadium. We want to make it special. It's not just the event itself, it's delivering a set of experiences that really surprises and delights you when you're there. The second one is, if consumers are going to stay at home, how do we deliver experiences and monetize some of those experiences while they're there? And so some of, I think, what we might talk about, and I think the NBA is doing a lot of, is another investment area. How do we make that experience from your couch more delightful? How do we immerse you and make you feel like you're there if you are going to stay at home? And then the third piece is given that we only, particularly in the NFL, only touch consumers, really 9 times a season. That's it, 9 days of the year, or how often they're in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. How do we make those moments count? And so a lot of the investment areas for us are around making sure that every time someone's in there, they're having just the most wonderful experience. So for my big bet here is that we're going to know in 10 years every person walking in the door and be able to deliver something that's unique to them.
Right. Andrew, that stadium has kept me in a job over these last 3 years with major events. Talk a little bit about some of the investment that you guys have put in. For those who maybe haven't been into Mercedes-Benz, just what makes it so special?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one is, it feels like a tailgate experience. That was a big thing, and I know Marcus will talk about what they've done at State Farm Arena. But, the area that I'll emphasize in the interest of time is food and beverage. That's really kind of our DNA right now. We just went cashless, which was a huge tech investment for us. But in addition to that, we're still trying to offer better pricing. And what I'll say just from the future of tech for us, we really are trying to do everything we can to cut costs our own costs to continue to lower pricing when someone's in the stadium. So, there's a lot of things happening with IoT to enable us to do that, but that's where we're at.
Marcus, recently the Hawks and State Farm Arena spent $200 million for significant improvements. Can you tell us how you guys are battling the couch?
I sure can. So you're exactly right. We just spent $200 million on what I would call a down to the studs if you were building a home renovation to State Farm Arena. It was a three-phased approach. It culminated in the grand reopening of the arena back in October, and we're super excited about it. If you drive by and see it on the outside, it looks exactly like it did 20 years ago, but we put all the money on the inside of that arena, and if you go inside of it, it is a completely different building. And so one of the things that we were trying to do, right, you mentioned the couch. One of the funny things that I've got around the arena is we created all these new spaces in it. The arena before had 2 different premium products, and for those of you that were in it, it had a wall of stacked suites that just weren't really applicable to the way people consume the content that's there today. And so we ripped all that stuff out, created 8 different premium spaces at all different amenity levels, at all different price points to allow you to tailor what you saw there. So if you talk about battling the couch, what we're trying to do is, instead of just forcing you to watch the particular piece of content that's there by grabbing a tinfoil hot dog and sitting in the seat, we wanted you to have the experience the way you want to experience the content, so being able to tailor it how you consume it. So the content's the same, whether it's a basketball game or a concert, but the way you experience that content is very, very different depending on where you are in the arena. And so one of those particular spaces actually is called Atlanta Social. It has a Cabana product that actually does have couches inside of the arena. So battling the couch, we just brought some in.
Excellent. Todd, it is estimated that 427 million people worldwide will be watching some form of eSports in 2019, and revenue is expected to surpass $1 billion. How is the video online sporting event experience going to evolve in the next decade?
Great question. So I think as gamers, we embrace the couch. We're very comfortable on the couch. And in all seriousness, the accessibility of gaming is a big part of the growth that you mentioned. Many of you may enjoy watching football, but probably fewer of you are playing football at this point. But once you're a gamer, you continue to be a gamer. And the fact that you can play it on the couch, the fact that it's so participatory is a lot of the appeal. I think with sports, people look for a fair playing field, and that's what sports has always aspired to. But a lot of times, in order to play, you need access to equipment, or you need to be in a certain region or a venue. If I am not near a hockey arena, I may never grow up to be a hockey player. But to participate in eSports, really all you need is a computer and an internet connection, and whether you're born here in Atlanta or Brazil or south of France, you're competing. And so that accessibility, that fact that you're exposed to the product from your couch and can play, is a big part of the growth that you mentioned. In terms of kind of leveraging new video platforms and arenas, one of the unique things, who's here has watched Twitch TV? So about half. So Twitch is the main platform that people are enjoying the content, and it's very interactive. You can watch it on your phone, you can watch it over the browser, it's free, but there's an interactive chat. And so a lot of the innovations in tech and esports as far as the digital viewing experience are really around embracing that interactivity. So we can watch, we can chat, and I might also be able to spam emotes and animated stickers for my favorite team and support that team, and that's also a monetization element where maybe money expressed by the fan goes to the team. So a lot of the innovation as far as video and online really will come by embracing this interactivity, because it's a platform that's new to all of us.
Marcus, we talked a little bit about the NBA 2K, and how has that changed the landscape for the Hawks?
It's an exciting new endeavor. So it's pretty proud to be part of the NBA. That's the first major sporting league in the United States to actually sponsor an e-gaming or an e-sports league. So if you think about the NBA, they actually consider themselves to have 4 different leagues. They have the NBA that we all know and love. They have what's called the G League, which is like minor league NBA teams. We have the WNBA, and now the 4th league is the actual NBA 2K league. So it's actually sanctioned by and has a commissioner that is the NBA 2K league. And so out of the 30 basketball teams, there's 22 of the pro basketball teams that have NBA 2K teams. And so one of the things for us is it completely changed how we thought about that part of the business. So if you think about sponsorship and corporate partnerships and revenue and social and interactivity, like we're now trying to figure out how do we sell assets that would normally be inside of a building, like a sign or something of that nature, but there's a virtual sign now inside of the virtual arena, inside of the game that people are playing, right? And so that's one of the things that we're working our way towards. But we had an entire draft. We have a team. They travel to New York once a week to play games head to head. And it's an exciting endeavor for us as we continue to push the boundaries in how people interact with us as an organization. So we're trying to provide multiple products, whether it's the Hawks themselves. We're bringing a minor league team to College Park, actually, and so there's going to be minor league basketball there. And then we have the 2K League also, and so we're trying to broaden our appeal, broaden our scope, and we believe that that'll bring more fans into the overall Hawks family.
So we talk about the positive impacts of technology. Are there any pitfalls we need to be prepared for in your world? And I'll open that up to any of you to answer.
I'll start, absolutely. One of the things that I think that I know I dance and we dance on this thin line of, all the new technology and all the data that we're capturing allows us to provide a fantastic personalized experience for folks. But we have to do that with caution and with care, because if you go one step too far, you could be seen as encroaching on someone's privacy, right? And so some of the things that are a challenge for us are, making sure that we're providing that tailored, personalized experience, but also not taking advantage of the care that you've given us with that data, right? And so there's a lot of things around that whole privacy aspect that we are very, very conscious of and want to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah, I'll expand on that just briefly with the notion of who owns player data. So for us, as we start to track our players and we start to put sensors on them, that data flows through and is monetizable, especially with sports gambling in the future. Who owns that? Is it the team? Is it the player? Is it, who sort of markets that? I think that's a key challenge. The other thing is that comes to mind for me is sports gaming. There's lots of money that's involved in this. But that experience changes, and the casual sports fan who wants to go and just have a nice time doesn't necessarily want to be served with parlay bets while they're in the stadium. And I think how different major sports leagues approach gambling is going to be a really, really critical thing to a fine line to walk.
Well, regarding esports in general, which I think is kind of one of the future assets of sports and media, it has a lot of things going for it. It certainly allows brands and partners to reach a very coveted demographic. A lot of these people have cut the cord and it's hard to reach them other ways. But as far as a pitfall, I think we have to take care in how we are speaking to that demographic, because it is a young player base. And so I think where we try to learn from traditional sports is what a great job it's traditionally done on whole person development, right? As a parent, I like my kid to play on the soccer team and run cross country because of all the positive values that it develops. Esports is very hot right now, and there's a lot of money going into it, and I think we're always trying to be careful that the marketing needs are balanced with the player needs, because ultimately the player and the athlete is what make all of our businesses work. And so we're just trying to be deliberate that we don't fall into a pitfall of chasing too many dollar signs and neglecting the player athlete, which is really the core of the business.
Yeah. I'll tag on to that too. With the NBA 2K League, one of the things that's very, very important to those players, right, is they spend time playing those games, watching film, watching their prior games, scouting other teams. So they're spending a lot of time indoors, right? And so part of their daily routine or daily schedule is they get out and work out in the gym. There's a very strict workout regimen. So again, trying to make sure that they're being taken care of, that the nutrition is right, that they're working out right, in addition to sitting in their sponsored chair kind of playing their video games. So.
Yeah, just to follow up, I'll shout out to our friends at Northside Hospital, because they are working with our athletes as well. So there's about 90 pro players, so salaried players in a couple leagues that we run, that have actually relocated to the Atlanta area, and every Wednesday they're working with Northside to make sure that they are not only maximizing their performance, but extending their careers. And it may sound silly if you're not close to it, and I will put our injury rates up against any other sport, but they do happen. You know, it does happen. There's eye strain, there's neck strain, there's carpal tunnel. And if you think about a NASCAR driver, if they're physically fit, they do more reps, they become a better performer. It's the same thing. You're spending 40 hours playing the NBA 2K or a game that we make.
Let's talk a little bit more about player safety. And coming from my world of ops and logistics, public safety is one of the key areas that I work on for these major events with our stadiums. What are you guys doing, maybe not only for player safety, but also for the public safety as it relates to technology that you could share?
Yeah, I think right now one of the things with Mercedes-Benz Stadium that we're focused on is making sure it's a safe, fun environment for fans. And I think you know, if you've been to an NFL game and probably an NBA game anytime recently, you're starting to see technology become a little bit more pervasive around, hey, text us if there's an issue. But that goes, you know, I think that's the beginning of a journey to making sure that the experience is a really positive one when you're in a stadium. So that's a bucket of investments that I think we're all largely focused on. On the flip side, though, particularly in the NFL, you know, concussions are a very real consideration for us, and so there's a lot of investments that are being made there. You know, one of the things that I'll just say I'm extremely proud of, and I got the opportunity to see firsthand, was with the Super Bowl in town recently, we hosted at Georgia Tech a competition where amateur and professional data scientists could actually recommend a set of rule changes for the NFL to reduce injuries on punts. And so it was a punt analytics competition. We brought 4 semifinalists in. We made some recommendations. The NFL competition committee is seriously considering these things. And so, you know, even from the perspective of just engaging fans to think about minor rule changes to helmets, to you know, devices and sensors that we can go and maybe take a look inside the body while someone's playing, they're all buckets of investments that we're making in the NFL to try to make it safer, and same with the MLS.
The NBA, one of the things that we're pretty excited about as well is we built, it's been open now for its 2nd year, we have a brand new practice facility. It's in conjunction with Emory University, the medical school there. And part of this new facility, there's a whole section of it that is another company that's out of California called Peak Performance Project. And so from an employee health, kind of employee, you know, avoiding injury, you know, tagging onto the concussion discussion, that was tougher to say than I thought. Those guys at Peak Performance Project, they actually put sensors on the NBA athletes and watch them play in their facilities, and then they will specifically target how you perform, right? So if I have some way that I shoot the basketball and I put way more stress on my right knee than a typical player does, then they will prescribe some preventative measures for me, whether they're exercises or extra stretches, to try to prevent the injury from happening before it actually happens. And so there's a lot of money going into that particular aspect as well. And part of that is, you know, we want our players to be safe and healthy, but it also creates an environment where players want to potentially come to Atlanta. It's a recruiting tool because they could potentially extend their careers if they're playing basketball with us.
Great. Well, gentlemen, as our time winds up, we'll go through the panel and just final comments about sports and entertainment and technology that you want to share. Todd?
Future's bright. Esports is a $1 billion industry. That's really just the top of the pyramid, because gaming is about a $100 billion industry. So it's, with the success of Minecraft and Fortnite, it's more in the public's conscious, but I think we're just getting started, honestly. So, you know, to me, the future from a marketing, brand, and even employer standpoint is, I think when you're releasing a new product in the same way today, you think about, what's my TV campaign? Am I gonna have billboards? Am I gonna do ads on social network? I think gaming and esports will be a component of every marketing plan. There's a ton of education that's needed to make sure you're, you know, talking with our community the right way. But the fact that it's a coveted demographic and that we have the data that helps, as long as it's used responsibly, helps deliver return to marketers, means that's going to be a big part of all of our future.
Yeah, I'll say I think the big change you're going to see for us is around the experience when you're in the stadium and when you're at home, how you consume events, whether it be from a gameplay perspective, but from a technology perspective, being able, you know, to watch your favorite NFL athlete or favorite soccer player and be able to watch a camera over their shoulder as they're running through the line of scrimmage. Whether you're there, whether you're home, I think those experiences are going to get extremely rich as more augmented and virtual reality devices become more ubiquitous.
I think that's good. And so from my perspective, I'll throw something that we haven't really talked about much out there. One thing is there's a ton of technology that's happening in the background that the fan will never overtly see that makes a massive impact on their actual experience when they come to the arena. So we have a lot of focus on the mobile app and personalization and things of that nature, but I think we briefly mentioned a little earlier IoT, sensors around that, the analytics and the data aspects of things, making sure that the right amount of food is cooked at the right time to make sure that you're not waiting on something that you're there, making sure that we're analyzing traffic patterns inside of the arena and routing people around and eliminating pinch points. There's a lot of technology that's happening in the background, including kind of what I would call like in-motion data, if you will. So, and what I mean by that is like as things are happening during an event, being able to grab or find trends in data and take corrective action during the event before it's too late, right? And so there's a lot of things I think that are happening that you don't see as a fan, but have massive impact on you and your experience when you're inside of one of our arenas.
And I will finalize this with literally backstage, Marcus and I were just chatting about, could over the next few years, could we get to a place where Mercedes-Benz and State Farm actually do some stuff with helping you find parking spots easier, making the ingress-egress problem from a technology standpoint a little bit easier for
traffic. We had a whole traffic panel earlier, so traffic's a big deal for us too.
Yeah.
Well, great, gentlemen. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure spending the afternoon with you, and thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.